Have you ever seen a friendship so deep, so unshakable, that you were sure nothing could tear it apart, only to watch it unravel in front of millions? That's exactly the drama unfolding between Meghan Markle and Tyler Perry. The man once celebrated as her rescuer from royal turmoil, the person she called family, is now believed to be in possession of private recordings that could blow apart her carefully protected image. And when the whispers turned into a roar, Meghan took a step no one predicted. She deleted him from her world. No tributes, no baby photos, no public gratitude. As though he'd never been there. But Tyler didn't just vanish. If he chooses to reveal what he knows, the fallout could eclipse any scandal the royal family has ever faced. It all started when Harry and Meghan walked away from royal duties in a media firestorm. You probably remember the endless headlines, Megxit blaring across front pages around the globe. Overnight, they became heroes to some, traitors to others. But behind the magazine covers and TV specials was a frantic search for safety, a place far from palace control. That refuge came courtesy of Tyler Perry. He didn't just lend them a room. He opened the gates to his enormous Beverly Hills estate, brought in security teams, and let them fly on his private jet. 4 months, Harry and Meghan planned their next move behind those walls. To Meghan, he was far more than a friend. He was her safety net. She gave him the title of godfather to Lilibet, a gesture in royal tradition that signals absolute trust. But sometimes trust dissolves when self-interest takes over. To the world, everything looked flawless. Fans saw glossy interviews, intimate documentaries, and tearful confessions of a couple breaking free. Tyler was part of that narrative, appearing on camera, applauding their bravery, promising to be there for their daughter forever. But behind the scenes, the story was more complicated. Insiders claim every visitor to Perry's home had to sign strict non-disclosure contracts, standard in Hollywood circles. Yet hidden deep in that paperwork was a clause that now seems almost prophetic. If one party ever publicly severed ties, the other was entitled to speak openly with legal protection. Most people thought it was just precaution. No one ever dreamed Meghan would trigger it. The first sign of a rupture came when Derek Dixon filed a massive lawsuit against Perry, demanding hundreds of millions and accusing him of fostering a toxic environment. Perry denied it outright, but the allegations cast a shadow over his reputation. Meghan, always attuned to her public image, made a call that stunned even her closest advisors. She offered no defense. No show of loyalty. Instead, her team quietly erased every trace of their connection. Instagram posts disappeared. Press statements naming him godfather were pulled. Even the Wikipedia entry for Lilibet was updated to strip out Perry's name. In under 48 hours, the man who'd protected her became a liability she didn't want to claim. That calculated erasure ignited a sequence of events she couldn't control. Inside Perry's circle, shock quickly turned into anger. Friends say he felt deeply betrayed, reduced to a convenient prop, discarded the instant his reputation posed a threat. He hadn't been a distant benefactor or a ceremonial godfather. He was in the trenches. He saw Harry's panic, Meghan's tears, the late-night strategizing when the royal walls closed in. He'd heard everything, and he kept proof. Screenshots, voicemails, draft statements Meghan never published. The real question wasn't whether he had evidence. It was whether he'd decided to use it. People in the industry are already talking about it. Multiple producers have quietly confirmed that Perry's representatives are entertaining offers from major broadcasters. Some networks have reserved studio space, waiting to see if he says yes. One executive privately called it the most anticipated tell-all since Oprah's interview. And that's no exaggeration. Tyler steps forward. He could dismantle the brand Meghan and Harry spent years, and a fortune, constructing. He could verify what royal staff always hinted at, that the fairy tale was never quite as pure as it looked. Behind the scenes, Meghan's public relations machine is running in overdrive. You can see the panic in her social feeds, endless streams of lifestyle tips, sunny photos, inspirational quotes. Anything to drown out the question that won't go away: where is Tyler? Even corporate sponsors are nervous. One luxury brand has paused promotions with Meghan, afraid of the backlash. And in the middle of this, Harry is caught between two loyalties: the gratitude he feels toward the man who sheltered him and the duty to defend his wife, whose entire image is now hanging by a thread. For Harry, this isn't just another round of negative press. Cuts to the heart of everything he believes. He still remembers pulling into Perry's driveway, exhausted and terrified. The relief when the gates closed behind them. The shame over the family he'd left behind. The fear that it was all temporary. Back then, Perry's help wasn't charity, it was survival. Watching Meghan wipe that away feels like a second betrayal layered over the first. Friends say Harry spends long nights pacing their estate, wondering how it all fell apart. Then there's the legal twist. The NDA Meghan's advisors thought would keep everything locked away has a built-in loophole. Tyler believes she publicly rejected him. He has the right to defend himself in detail. Not vague statements. Not half-truths. The full, unfiltered reality. Every private discussion, every emotional outburst, every plan to reshape public opinion. For a couple who prided themselves on authenticity, this could be the ultimate reckoning. Meanwhile, over in Buckingham Palace, courtiers are quietly savoring the spectacle. Those who were once blamed for driving Meghan away are now watching as Hollywood exposes a new kind of coldness. Every time Meghan's team deletes a reference to Tyler, every time a rumor leaks about what he knows, the monarchy gains back a sliver of credibility. They don't need to say anything. The Sussexes are doing the damage themselves. But this is more than a personal feud. Meghan's entire business empire, her media deals, her wellness brand, her podcasts, rests on the promise that she is genuine. That she tells the truth. Tyler Perry goes public, it won't just bruise her reputation. Could demolish it. 'Cause when your success depends on storytelling, the last thing you can afford is someone who owns the unpolished version. Already, analytics firms are seeing a shift. The sentiment online is changing. Where once there was unwavering support, there's now doubt creeping in. This isn't a flash of backlash, it's a steady decline in trust. And in an industry where trust is everything, that erosion can be fatal. Behind closed doors, Perry's phone is buzzing with calls. Networks are eager to bankroll a special that would dominate global headlines. His advisors are weighing every proposal. Because he knows exactly what he has in his possession, and how quickly Meghan tried to erase his place in her story. And that's the detail no one can overlook. The lawsuit hurt. But it wasn't what cut deepest. It was how fast she acted like he'd never mattered. Like all those moments of desperation and relief could be edited out with the click of a button. That's the part he can't forgive. To people he trusts, Tyler has made his position clear. He refuses to be painted as the villain for offering help when no one else stepped up. He believes he has every right to stand up for himself, to set the record straight about what really happened during those chaotic months. And if he needs to do it publicly, he will. So the world is left waiting to see whether he'll stay silent or share everything. For years, Meghan and Harry have been experts at crafting a narrative that could weather any storm. But now, all that control sits in Tyler Perry's hands. And if he chooses to lift the curtain, the story they've sold may not survive. 'Cause no amount of inspirational posts can bury a truth this big. Some stories will always find their way to daylight. And sometimes it only takes one voice tired of being erased to bring it all crashing down. And while Meghan's advisors work overtime to salvage her image, the sense of unease is spreading beyond Hollywood. Royal commentators in London are quietly whispering that this could be the moment the Sussex brand finally hits the wall. For years, Meghan and Harry defied expectations, positioning themselves as underdogs who escaped an outdated institution. But now, the public is seeing a side of that story they weren't supposed to notice. What happens when loyalty becomes conditional? Insiders say that within Perry's circle, there's a growing belief that he never wanted this to escalate. He valued discretion, especially after witnessing the couple's emotional turmoil. But when Meghan tried to erase his role altogether, that restraint began to evaporate. It wasn't about revenge, it was about dignity. About not being turned into a convenient chapter to be edited out when the storyline demanded it. And that's why this saga feels so different from any other celebrity fallout. This isn't a petty argument over money or credit. This is about trust and what it costs to betray it. For Tyler, it's also about preserving the integrity he spent decades building. His reputation wasn't handed to him by royal proximity. It was earned, project by project, sacrifice by sacrifice. Meanwhile, Meghan's supporters are still clinging to the idea that this will blow over, that the public will eventually move on to the next scandal. But the problem with that optimism is simple. The audience has become invested. They've followed every twist, every clue, every rumor. And now they're hungry for answers no glossy Instagram reel can satisfy. Even Harry's oldest friends are starting to speak up in hushed tones. They remember how overwhelmed he was when he landed in California with nowhere else to turn. They remember the relief in his voice when he said Tyler had stepped in to help. To them, this isn't just a PR crisis. It's a personal betrayal playing out on the world stage. Producers circling the story say the appetite for the truth has never been stronger. They're not just pitching interviews, they're offering documentary deals, serialized specials, companion podcasts. Because they know audiences will devour every detail of the saga. The phone calls, the emails, the unfiltered conversations that reveal how the Sussex narrative was built. And behind the scenes, Perry's team is carefully cataloging everything. Every timeline. Every piece of correspondence. Every photo that proves he wasn't some peripheral acquaintance but a central figure in Meghan and Harry's journey. Preparation is meticulous, almost surgical. Because if he decides to speak, he wants no room for doubt. Some have argued that this is all about ego. That Tyler can't bear to be overshadowed or forgotten. But those who know him insist it's simpler. He won't allow anyone to rewrite history at his expense. He believes the public deserves to know what really happened, not the sanitized version but the authentic one. And that authenticity is precisely what makes this so dangerous for Meghan. 'Cause her brand depends on the idea that she's transparent, relatable, and honest. The world learned she erased the person who protected her most. That image will be nearly impossible to repair. Already, analysts are predicting this could become one of the defining celebrity scandals of the decade. Not because it involves criminal allegations or shocking revelations, but because it's about something everyone understands: the sting of being discarded when you're no longer useful. As for Harry, insiders say he's torn between regret and resentment. Regret that he ever let their friendship get tangled in strategy. Resentment that he now has to choose between standing by his wife and acknowledging the debt he owes Tyler. For a man who built his identity on loyalty, it's a torment that no amount of PR can soothe. The longer this drags on, the more it underscores an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the real damage isn't in the stories we tell, but in the ones we refuse to acknowledge. And no amount of curated content or lifestyle branding can mask that forever. 'Cause in the end, when you strip away the titles and the headlines, all that remains is whether you treated the people who helped you with the respect they deserved. And in this case, the world is starting to suspect the answer might not be flattering.